Ready to terrorize Harold. It's definitely not an Escalade. It's way smaller.
What in the Sam hell is this? That looks like one of them fancy IndyCar racing rigs. Mr. Stapleton, Stapleton 42.
Camping in your yard. I've never been at a racetrack where we've had the entire facility to ourselves. Like, we are the only people here.
Yeah.
That we can do whatever we
So
want.
I have a pretty great relationship with Ryan at Hardway that we talked about a lot, but he is the current leaseholder of the track here, and we pulled some strings, made some stuff happen, and yes, the gates are open for us. We're going to do some testing. He knows that I got some no prep races coming up, and he wants to see this thing win just as badly as I do. We're going to try the new intake out. It gave us a little bit of trouble getting it on and off the trailer. It didn't want to load up just right, so maybe we can get it to run right, and we'll send her. No testing from this end of the track. Looks like we're gonna have to go down there. So going down there really isn't a bad problem anyway, so I had intentions of testing on this side, but since I want to do no prep testing, the best way to do that is to avoid all prep possible. So going down either to one of the return roads, down to the other end of the track, either way is gonna work great. So we'll give that a shot. We're gonna give it a go. I don't think that this thing's gonna care too much about being up here. So like I said, it's a better estimation of what I plan to race with in the coming months anyway. So no prep from the back end from the shutdown. Let's hope it does well. So the only thing I got to be careful is I want to make sure I'm way out of it before I even get close to the actual racing surface. I don't want to approach the tree or any of the equipment down there under any sort of power at all. I don't want to do that. So I'll be out of it, just test a nice 60 foot. It's really like a 330 hit to see what it'll do. And as long as that's happy, we should be good to go. So. Looked good in the run. We basically left on like 4,506 pounds, and it basically maintained about 6.5, 7 pounds all through the run. It did peak finally up to about 8 at the end, but everything seems pretty happy. The closed loop is kind of all over the place. You can see it in this blue line here. It's kind of pissed off in a few places, but that's up to the intake. But it's not too bad. It's only a few % off in most places. And we're just going to turn the 3-port on at max duty cycle 100%, so it's basically going to be pinned the entire time just to see what it'll make. It's obvious it's not going to overboost. It's not going to go too high. It's certainly not going to be higher than 30 pounds on the brake. So we know it'll do that, but anyway, we'll see what it does. We'll see what a 16-pound-ish ballpark is my guess, see what that's going to do for us. And
you know, he just left that on purpose. It's going to make a good video, and I would have done the same thing.
And for the first time ever, I forgot to put my truck in 4-wheel drive. So, I don't know, I goofing off, you know, having fun, chit-chatting with the crew, and I totally forgot to put it in 4-wheel drive. So I pulled it around, did it again. It started stinking raining. So Florida being, it's now starting to rain. So I got the truck down here. I did make a second pass, pretty much left at like 16 pounds and like 5,000 RPM. To do that on a getting moist surface on the back end of a track with no prep, no burnout, a hot lap and everything, we're in pretty good shape. I definitely got something to work with. So at least it seems that the truck is back happy with this new intake on it. Pretty much first impression of the new intake is that I like it, and it feels like it's tugging up top. I didn't get to make a full run, so I basically only ran a 730 on the draggy, but I was like 65 mile an hour on the brakes hard because, like I said earlier, I did not want to approach the tree with any sort of speed or whatever. Basically, I wanted to make sure the truck would run with the new intake and that it would 60 foot well on a no prep, and I think that we got that pretty good, even for the rain to have started as soon as I let off the brake. My biggest change I've noticed so far with this new intake is that it's lazier getting to the two-step. Now, that sort of makes sense because what helps you get on the two-step, or what allows you to climb an RPM, is torque. So if you have less torque, you're going to have less ass, like less muscle to get you up on the two-step. So that's a little bit lazier there. I've noticed that. And like I said, it totally makes sense. The Trailblazer makes fantastic low RPM torque, and it helps me climb right up there. This one takes a little bit more labor, but so far so good. If that's the biggest issue I have with this thing and it's the biggest change I make, then so what? Because as soon as I let off the brake, I'm up in the high RPMs where this thing is really shining at. So far so good. Back to business. So I raised the two-step this time up to 5,000 RPM. That's where it left at. It seems to be happy there in my experience, and it left on 12.8 pounds. That's what it made, right at 13 pounds when I let off the brake. So that seemed super good. It did spin some, but it's hard to tell whether that was because it was dead, no prep, no rubber, no glue, no burnout, no nothing, or whether it was because it started sprinkling on the previous pass. It's really hard to tell. It didn't spin super bad. I just kind of rolled them over a few times. The front end had some action. So Florida, being like Florida be, it's not raining at my house. So I live 5 minutes away, 6 miles from the track, from Emil Coast Dragway, and it's not raining here. So the whole point was to have Mr. Stapleton ghost ride the whip. He wanted to drive a boat, so we're gonna let him drive the boat. So we're gonna take this thing for a lap around Harold. What you think?
I'm ready to terrorize Harold.
There's not much of it to terrorize, but we'll give it all we got.
We'll give it all 3 buildings.
Yeah.
Absolute terror.
So out of 3 buildings, there's a store and 2 churches. So that's what we got going on.
A store, 2 churches, and your house.
Yep. So let's go. Both us?
Both us.
Both us.
Both us.
So when people be talking about this video and they'll say, oh yeah, we can see both of them.
Both of them. That's the thing. It's like both of them, it's both of them. Like when we're BOFFUM, that's how you spell it. It's originated in Harold from this man's phone. So both of them, it's a word now.
Both of them. Learned something today. Talk about teaching people things. Is both of them going to be what you teach them today, or you got more? I feel like that's a pretty good lesson. Like
both of them,
that's
yeah.
Good verbiage to learn.
That's word of the day right there. Is both of them. That'll be on a shirt someday too.
Yeah.
Right after suck it.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
I got a good idea for that.
Suck it, Cole. Both of them. It's coming. Whatever. We're on the road here. So, man, this thing is not want to idle right when you're going in and out of gears.
Instead of driving with 1 foot, you got to use both of them.
But both of them. So you got to stall this thing up and slip the brake pedal out like you do a clutch.
A little bit. A little saucy.
She's got some pedal action. She's still, a healthily cammed 5.3.
How much does this truck weigh?
4250 with me in it, race ready.
That is not very heavy at all.
Yeah.
Left, right?
Go right. This thing has like a totally unique and different sound from the passenger seat that I'm like not accustomed to. Just like the total tone, like I don't know if it's the intake, the passenger seat, or what, but it's totally different. But it probably has something to do with the fact that the last time you were here and were with me, I had like 7 broken valve springs in the motor and we just didn't know it. So what do you think? How's it compare?
I like it. It's definitely not an Escalade. It's way smaller.
But everything's smaller, motor and everything,
yeah,
turbo.
It's way more simple and it's a lot of fun. Like we didn't really let it eat because it was spinning out there when I actually had to do a first gear pull, but like I could tell how fast this thing is without really making it work that hard. This is a fast vehicle.
Yeah.
It's fast.
But it's nice though because like when you're under the turbo, like when you're not making the turbo work, it drives like a regular cammed 5.3. Like it just does its job and does its thing very street manner when it doesn't idle like shit. But.
Yeah, extremely. It's definitely really makes me want to get my 93 going.
Yeah.
I say that every time I look at this thing, but it's happening, okay? First order of business was get, Uncle Rob turboed over there, and then the 93.
Adrian!
Yo, Adrian!
Hey, yo, I was just wondering if maybe Adrian wanted to go out for dinner or something.
Guys, some kind of like club or something? You guys are wearing the same shirt.
Yeah, what do you do? What
You guys need some titanium or what?
What does TMS mean? Touch my sack?
Touch my sack, tug my slinky. Too much sauce.
Oof. We don't want too much sauce. You can get lost in the sauce with too much sauce.
Unless you're Cooper. Cooper can never have too much sauce.
This thing's fun.
I bet.
It's a lot of fun.
Thankful for Adrian coming out, getting some wobs on camera. Adrian wasn't around for the wob.
No,
Wob
you
talk.
weren't around for his talking about the wob either.
What is the wob?
whatever.
I'll give you one guess.
freaking turkey wobble on the post turkey day.
He'll do that thing you like, ladies. Glad Mitchell got to come in and hang out. He did break my truck. He blew the charge pipe off. We talked about it driving a little different on the way home. So if you don't, please subscribe to Mitchell. He is Stapleton 42. I'll take a walk over there and get a picture of the Newell where you can see it, but follow him on Instagram and YouTube. They are the same. I'm Diggins E71. We'll see you next time.